Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bricks and Dragons. Today, we're taking a look back at how this all kind of started along. Um, for people that have been watching ever since I kind of started this video or this whole channel, I started this off because I was doing comics for a place I was working at the time, and I was doing it on forklifts and just silliness in the factory, just having a individual that had very good intentions, but would always just kind of mess things up and that. So that's kind of how I got going here. Of course, I never got paid for doing any of it. It was just being done on my free time. So I figured, hey, let's have some fun. Let's make some jokes about it all, and we'll put it up on YouTube. So that's how this all got started. So um, when I got going on this, I had already gotten a couple forklifts. We'll kind of start off with where we kind of started with. I had gotten this forklift first because this came with one of the train sets, and then because I was driving forklift and I was driving a turret reach narrow aisle picker style forklift. I kind of built one of these, and we'll kind of go through that here in a second. So, this is an actual Lego. This is from one of the Lego train sets. Typically, it's got a rubber band around here, so it holds it up. But knowing what I know because of driving forklift for many years, we typically try to keep our forks as low to the ground as we can without getting caught into the ground. So I just take the rubber band off. I actually have a block in the back so that way it doesn't drag on the ground, but it's just above the ground. So hopefully I can put something there. I'll take this little shelf here so I could have something here, and it's not dragging or anything else. So that's really where this all kind of came from. I've done a couple presentations, and I got into doing forklift training. So I actually have a couple gifts, and I'll try and get them in on the video. We'll try and find those. We'll try and get those put in. But this is where I started, and then of course because I was driving a turret reach, I'll set this right over here. I kind of built this little guy. So um, you know, whenever I'm doing a lot of stuff, I don't always have the right parts, the right colors, and everything else. So I'm just trying to do the best I can. So this was a very simplistic build. Just having the smallest wheels I can get, and then like little cart wheels here in the back. Um, it kind of sits a little slanted towards the back. So if you were to actually see it, it kind of sits a little slanted here. Um, and I made a little cab, and of course I can get the cab to go up and down. Now this is just as basic as you can get. This is like a mining cart or a roller coaster kind of track. So I just kind of did that with a little bit of Technic here, and then I can kind of just tighten that up and it'll sit here and stay. So that's kind of what I did. Knowing I wanted to be able to have a person sitting here, so I just made just enough for the person to sit in here, although I do have to take that off if I want to get the person out. And, we have a bar, so this goes across. So typically we go across, we pick our skid up, we bring it back. Well, I can't quite get that part to work out quite yet. There are things I can maybe do, try and find some certain pieces, but I figured, most of the time this is just going to be a static piece, and if I really need to move it over or something, I can move it over because it's just these two clips. So if I really needed this slid over, I could just manually slide it over. And of course, this is a pole that I could take this off and I could actually put it up here or something, but I wanted to keep it down low because normally you want to, just like with a forklift, keep your load as low to the ground as possible. So when I first started doing this, I mean, you can see I have almost enough for a regular brick underneath here, but that's as low as I could get it. So that's really where we are. And I was using whatever spare pieces I had, trying to get it to look like it was meant to be a certain look. I kind of thought maybe I'd put something else here, but I never did. The way it sits right now, I think it's, because the front of ours were always kind of open so we could see everything around us. So we could see other forklift traffic as it's going by or whatever else. So that's where we kind of started. Very basic, a very crude design. But I was able to get the cab to go up, and I was kind of happy with it. And I took it to work and showed it off a little bit. People were kind of amazed by what I did. Later on, when they did, I believe it was the Rise of Justice League, they came out with a Batman set that had a LexCorp forklift. So that's what this comes from. These were supposed to be missiles, but I just turned them into headlights because I usually don't like having to actual shooting things. Mainly because I don't like to lose Lego pieces all over the floor or whatever. So, and the same thing, I just took the rubber band off, or I didn't put it on, and I just kind of kept it so that way it stays just a little off the ground so I can kind of carry something. Typically, if I make a skid, and I know I have skids around here somewhere, but it's not a big deal. I actually have a plate, like a 1x4 plate on the sides, and then the plate on top, and then we'll build on top of that. So that's why I have it set the way I do. And I can always tilt it back if I want to make it seem like they're carrying it or whatever else. These are so light that if I have too much weight, typically it just wants to go forward anyway. So whatever I'm putting on here, I'm trying to keep it as hollow as I can. Give me a second and I'll show you here. And I'll probably be able to find a skid as well. All right. So I wasn't thinking about this when I wasn't starting to film this. So this is just paper going around here. This is a very light build. I do have some stuff in here just really to give a little rigidity here. But now this goes down 2 plates. That way I can get the forks underneath it, especially when it's up on a platform or whatever. And then I can just kind of bring it back. If I get 2 of them up here, because these are light, it's not a big deal. And I wanted them to be light so that way I could maybe put them on here, make it look like they're carrying it. And of course, the dimensions aren't set the best. So, and it's a little heavy for the ball joints there. So that's kind of where I'm going. Everything was meant to be a static picture, kind of done like the old Blondie and Dagwood, if you know who that is. Just a little slapstick humor. So that's where everything was meant. So, kind of trying to come up with everything along the way. Now, this was just a knockoff build of a forklift. I don't remember who the manufacturer was. Some Chinese company, I'm sure. I don't think it was an American company. But I was just trying to get some extra forklifts. I just really wanted to have some extra forklifts. So I had kind of picked up this one, and I had another one. I think I had a 5th one, but that was a really crummy build, and I don't think it even stayed together. That's just the whole thing. You try to find something and think it's going to work, and it doesn't. But this would be a heavier forklift for me. So trying to go up in sizes, and we only ran about one size forklift in the plant that I was in. Our forklifts were all electric, and they were 6 tons. And of course, I needed a pallet jack. So here again, now I have a little pallet jack so I can kind of move stuff around. Here. So, and I saw a picture of this. So what I do is I just try to recreate what I can see in a picture. And that's how this kind of came around. Because I became a trainer after a while. I don't know if I said that or not. And I trained on pallet jack. I trained forklifts, scissor lifts, boom lifts, our turret trucks, pretty much anything and everything we had in the plant I was training. And it was fun. A lot of nice people. Okay. So I kind of showed you this one a little bit. And then I had gotten these right here. And I figured, well, I could use that for doing another forklift or another turret truck. So here I am trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to work this out. And then I knocked my piece off. Because what I was really hoping for is I wanted to have this go up and have the cab go up even more. So that's kind of where I was hoping to do, or hoping to go with this. But unfortunately, I just could not completely figure out how I was going to get this anchored in so that way it would do what I wanted it to do. There's got to be a good way of doing it. I just was kind of fumbling at how to do it. So here it is. As you see, this being what it is, I mean, I could put like a little gear in the back here, and I could maybe had this turned around, but I'm still just trying to figure out exactly how I'm doing this. Now, maybe looking at this, because it does indent here on both sides, maybe if I had that flipped around or something, but I really wanted to have the bigger piece on the bottom and our smaller on top. I don't know if that makes sense here. Because with Lego, it's not as big of an issue as it is in real life, because typically we have our bigger gears and then we go to smaller gears and smaller gears, and that's where we get limited on what we can carry here. But and with the metal, I mean, we can make thin metal about this size, but we get a little bit more strength out of it. And of course, we had 3 channels, and Christ, I think it was like this for each one. It's almost like the size of a 2x4. But for me trying to scale that down in Lego, trying to figure this through, now maybe there's good ways of doing it. I just, picking my own little brain here, I didn't come up with any better idea. And seeing that this is just going to be static pictures anyways, I figured this will do. This will be good enough. So I even have a little gate here, so that way I can, as they're supposed to be getting in and out, I have like a little gate. That's what that's there for. And the other thing I wanted to do, and this is not the first time I had done this, I rebuilt this a couple times. I wanted to have a spot for changing our batteries. So that's what this is. Now, originally this all sat up higher, and I could actually get my mock battery in there. Essentially, I was taking the stand pieces. These are all dusty, as always. I think I had like 3 or 4 of these stacked on top of each other, and that was my so-called battery. And I would put it onto a pallet jack and make it look like it was going in and out. And originally I could, although it was kind of a dickens to get out of there. And this sat up higher. The only problem was, typically, even with ours, and these were 10 tons, I could always look over the top here. And I was suddenly, this is sitting up about this high. So I'm quite a bit higher than what I really wanted to be. So I figured, well, I don't have to have a battery in here, but if it looks like I can change a battery, then I can always do that. So that's where I kind of made a compromise here. So that's where it sits today, and this is pretty much where it's going to sit for the rest of eternity. And again, I'm trying to have smaller tires. These are like airplane wheels from an airplane set that I had that I tore apart for whatever reason. And, when I was younger, wasn't thinking too much about some of this stuff like I do today. And I have the forks sitting a little lower on this. So, but they don't have the extra strength. So trying to pick things up, I might have to finagle things here a little bit. But if I'm just doing it as a comic, or this is just sitting in the background, it's not a big deal. And this one is pretty much a carbon copy, pretty much done in the same type of brick setup. The only difference is I have this, which is from a old fire truck that I had or whatever, and now I can at least raise and lower the cab so I can keep it in one spot or the other. So if I'm doing a picture and I need them all the way up in the air or a little lower or whatever, I could do that. If I had one I could do that with, then that was just enough. It would do plenty for me, so I wasn't too worried about it. And then I came up with, and here again, I looked it up and I saw a picture that somebody had done. I got a scissor lift. And because I did training on this stuff as well, I figured, hey, this is pretty neat. I can try and build this. So here we are. really there's only 2 anchor points. So I got one here and one down here. Everything else here is pretty free floating here. So if I'm not careful, I can knock this over and he's sitting down here. I've got a rubber band in here, and that's what gives me my tension to want him to stay up. So now I'm using a rubber band that I didn't use on those to try and keep this up here. And there's my maintenance worker. I called him Glenn. And I had him kind of hanging off to the side or whatever, asking for some help. And it was just part of a little gag joke. Just being silly. That's all it is. It's like a lot of the things, I do things for fun and silliness. Nothing should be overly serious. There's enough seriousness in the world. If we can have a little downtime and a little fun time, that's all that really matters to me. Because like everyone else, I got to be serious in most of my day. But when you can be home and just have some fun or watch a couple funny videos on YouTube, that's wonderful. So this is really where I kind of got started on all this. So just kind of taking a look at the things that I had kind of worked with and built. And, these were a lot of trial and errors and trying to figure things out and all that. Trying to rack my head up against the wall to figure out exactly how. I still would love to have it so I can get the cab to go all the way up and then go up. But I guess at this point I've kind of resigned myself to say, maybe that just won't happen, but I did pretty good. I can still have this go up and it still looks really nice. And it's still pretty cool to think that I at least came up with that. I've got this and that one, and if that's all there is, that's all there is. And all the other things that we can come up with and create in that. So with that, I'm going to end the video. I'll look for the little gifts. We'll get those put at the end of the video, and we'll go from there. I'm happy to have you guys be here and share this with me and sit around the pool table as always. And I'm hoping you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.